Yo, what is going on everyone? Welcome back to a Keelgottime video, and today, because Keelgottime, we're going to be reacting to black men have a secret loneliness problem or a silent loneliness problem. Secret or so. Have a silent loneliness problem. Yeah, as a black man myself, do we have a loneliness problem? But anyway, yeah, let go. What?
In the UK right now, there are over 3.8 million people living with chronic loneliness, compared to 3 million people living with cancer.
Why are so many black men lonely?
It's possible that you may be more likely to survive cancer than you will loneliness.
In 1990, the number of men who said that they had 6 or more close friends was around about 55%. 15% of men say that they have 0 close friends.
Loneliness?
Close friends. How many close friends do I actually say I have? 4. 4 close friends? 4. Yeah.
Loneliness.
Damn, I can't even say I have 6 close. You don't need a lot of close friends though, bro. And there's too many people in your circle, shit just gets messy.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just want to say I appreciate the support on the last video. Very unexpected, but love you guys, appreciate it. A lot of interesting comments there. So yeah, let's get straight into it, man. You've seen the title, you know what this is about. So just a quick disclaimer again. I know this video is about black male loneliness, and I'm very much aware that loneliness is something that affects all people of all genders or races or backgrounds. It's not something that specifically affects black people, but I am a black male, so I'm going to talk about my experience as a black male. If that offends you for some reason, I want you to question that. Why does that offend me? Why am I upset about that? And I'll leave that to you. Other than that, let's get to the video. Okay, so if I'm being honest, I can count my close friends on one hand, maybe even less than a hand. And I know I'm not the only one, because a lot of us black men, we hit our like mid-20s to 30s, and we realize that that brotherhood that we thought would always be there just isn't there anymore. And I was thinking recently, like, why is that? Like, why do so many of us end up isolated even though we grew up surrounded by so many different people? Well, this stat kind of put it into perspective for me. So in the UK, around 27% of men report to having no close friends. And as black men are disproportionately affected by mental health challenges, with around 23% of black men experiencing some form of common health problems compared to around 17% of white British men. It kind of just put things into perspective for me. Like, there's clearly something that is different with the black experience when it comes to loneliness than the white experience, for example. So today I want to kind of go it further into depth and really dig deep and understand why this is, because I want to talk about why so many black men in the UK are kind of losing their friendships as we get older. Because, you know, beneath the Insta reels and group chat jokes, there's real pain there, and understanding it is the first step to fixing it. So let's understand it. So I think a good place to start is like childhood, like the difference between childhood brotherhood and then that adult kind of isolation or the adult experience. So if you're a black guy, especially from the UK, you can probably relate to having experiences of like having youth clubs, playgrounds, sort of like it being a constant or very...
We didn't... I was in the era where they had shut this shit down, youth clubs and that. Nah, I think that was probably like 1 or 2 maybe, but for the most part, there was not a thing no more. And yeah, nah, I'm trying to think. There was no, other than a sports club, you don't got no youth thing to where you can hang out nowhere. Nigga, you better take your ass to the park.
Very frequent thing. You'd just be out with your friends playing all day, running around, playing Not Down Ginger, like playing World Cup, FA Cup, wherever it is, in the cages. Like that, for a lot of us, that was our first experience of like having a brotherhood. And those relationships, although they were quite immature because we were kids, of course, they did feel quite intense and quite tight knit. And I guess mainly because they're kind of formed out of like a shared struggle or shared culture, or just like proximity to each other. We're all in a close area, going through very similar experiences, probably got very similar backgrounds. Like, it just makes sense that we're gonna have a lot to bond on. And
Yeah,
like
but
friendships kind of did.
then you also gotta think like a lot of friends were built in school, and school, bro, you go there every day. You see these motherfuckers 5 times a week, like more often than not, more weeks than not, you're gonna see your friends 5 times a week for hours on end. And then when you get older, that shit don't happen. It's like, bro, nah, bro. People got jobs, people got work, people get tired. You know, if you're in the gym, you gotta keep yourself in the gym. Like, shit to do.
Almost feel like family, like your friends would know your mum, they'd know your dad, they'd know your siblings. And, you know, this needed brotherhood was kind of like necessary for us to survive. Because if we didn't have each other, like the system that we're in, whether that's, you know, the kind of poverty that a lot of us are in, or just like the over policing and that kind of shit, like it would have just got us really down if we didn't have people to share our experiences with. Like, I literally bonded over like being stopped and searched by police when I was like a young guy with some guy I met like a couple weeks ago.
That's happened
And
to me.
obviously that's something that's very specific to our experience. But the sad reality is that a lot of us men, as we age, we're not really taught how to nurture friendships like past adolescence, like past the kind of like trivial kind of just conversations and trivial connections. And I think due to this, a lot of us don't know how to maintain or build relationships as we age. For example, with this UK study, I think it's called the Campaign to End Loneliness, it found that men aged 30 plus are among the loneliness demographic in the UK, especially those that come from a working class or ethnic minority background, which makes a lot of sense. Because I think the main difference between these like kind of boyish relationships and relationships that you want to have with men as you grow up is that as a young guy, relationships feel effortless. It's like, it doesn't feel like I'm making any effort to talk to you. It doesn't take much effort to like invite you to, you know, come outside or to jump on the game or to do X or Y. As soon as there's that barrier of like inconvenience, it's just like the friendships just go out the window. And I think part of that is that it's no longer seen as a necessity to have like friends. Is no longer seen as like something that is needed. It's more like a luxury, which I think is again something that's been like absurd and brainwashed into us to believe that human connection is just like something that's nice to have rather than a necessity, which again kind of leads back to the capitalist nature that we're, you know, capitalist nature of society that we're in. If you want to talk about that, we can talk about that later maybe.
Oh my God, like, can we talk about like the political and economic state of the world right now?
Okay, so let's talk about the stigma around emotional vulnerability, especially for black men. Because I think there is a major difference between, you know, our experience when it comes to emotional vulnerability and that of our white or other ethnicity counterparts, I'd say. Let's be honest, like a lot of our childhood, we're kind of brainwashed with this like man up kind of culture, or this like disciplined culture, or this like just tough love kind of culture. Like I have like a Nigerian background, and like on a personal level, if we can get personal here, this is my channel so I can get personal. Like I didn't have a like very loving relationship with my dad. Like I don't think he ever told me he loved me. I think the nearest thing he had to saying that was like, oh, like I do this because it's right for you, or I do that because, you know, you need discipline, X, Y, Z. That's the type of love that we're shown. And that teaches us that, like, as a man, you have to be tough in this world. And that's something that, you know, there's some truth to it, but it's something that kind of hardens your heart to relationships. Because in this, like, traditional man-up culture, emotional depth and vulnerability is taboo. Like, it's a no-go area. Like, do not express your feelings. Do not tell people how you're actually doing. Just keep the facade up and like keep everyone at a safe distance. But this leads to a lot of us men believing that vulnerability equals weakness, when in reality, foundation of any strong relationship.
You know, I never really. There was times I thought that, depending on the situation, but I never really thought that I was just like that. Apparently, I done been like that since a jit, bro. Since I could speak, Apparently my parents told me I wasn't one to share emotions or talk about situations. I was extremely reserved, even as an adolescent, apparently. So, yeah.
Relationship, whether that's a romantic one or especially of like a friend, like a platonic friendship kind of relationship, is based on vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable with your friends in order to build that connection. You're never going to be able to get past the surface level if you're never able to, give yourself the ability to be vulnerable. And the truth is, like, a lot of Black British households, we're like entrenched in this idea of like building strong men, building tough men.
And then also, I don't know about that, because there's being vulnerable and then there's sharing your situation. Being vulnerable, letting it know exactly how you felt, how you feel. Nigga might shed a tear. I'm joking. But, and then there's literally just letting it be known what's going on, you know? And I think a lot more people bond over letting it be known what's going on rather than, oh, we feel the same about this. It's just, nah, we're in the same situation. I don't know. Y'all let me know.
Building men that are ready to,
Also,
do twice as much to get
sec. I'm
half
so
as.
sorry, but I have to take a shit. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This will be cut out. Yeah. So if you need to take a shit now, everyone pause. And yeah, we'll be back in a sec. Oh boy. I feel very relieved. Yeah, let's get back to it.
Half as much reward is, as the saying goes. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that growing up. But this makes emotional expression very rare, and a lot of time it is just anger that you see. It's a lot of frustration that comes out, and this is why so many men like to keep their like friendships very like surface level, very like just banter heavy, very like just casual, because we've learned that our emotional needs don't need to be met by other men in our lives. It has to be met by our partners, whether that's a sexual partner or like a romantic partner. That's why a lot of guys end up like having all of their emotional eggs in the basket of their like romantic relationship. But this just becomes like a toxic cycle where like friendships can't really survive, because if you're not able to actually be able to have the courage to be seen by your friends, for them to actually know who you are, not just like the facade and mask you're putting on, they're never going to be able to actually like.
Okay, I'm sorry. Shout outs to this guy, but I'm just not listening. It's quite a longish drawn out video. So yeah, if y'all do want to go watch that, the PS perspective, Black men have a silent loneliness problem. Right, yeah, so, but yeah, I've just lost interest, guys. I'm sorry. That being said, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, let me know anything down below. Videos dropping every single day, 5:15 UK time, so make sure you pull up tomorrow, because I'll see you then. Peace, love, and prosperity. I'm gone.